Welcome back to another DC breakdown of Campaign 3, Episode 8 of Critical Role. We're getting into drama between players. Two players having beef with each other. What's going on there? A new character is being introduced to an already established group. How do you handle that? I also got game-changing theories that I've been reading down in the comments, thinking on my own here, talking to some other people, and I want to see what you guys think. I always love reading the comments after these videos go up. See what you guys think about what's going on. But before we break down all the gameplay, a quick word from our sponsor. And no, the sponsor is not Old Spice deodorant, but it is Loki Battle Mats and their new scented battle mats. It smells like a river. It smells like an Arctic tundra. It smells like a cavern. Or it smells like a ritual chamber and really takes that immersion to the next level. I'm just kidding. These things aren't actually scented. They smell completely normal like plastic and everything, but these are my favorite new battle mats. I've really been trying to cut down on game prep time, and a lot of it is building maps and finding out where they're going to be fighting in these things, and especially if things go off the rails. But the amount of things in this book and some other things I'm about to show you are really cool. Like, you just plop it down and there's like a really cool little grid map with a stage and everything for some sort of checkers type. I'm getting battlefield ideas just looking at these things. They have so many different options, like this river and a bridge. Very simple to just throw down at your table. And there's a little key on the back that shows you every single map on here. And there's also a volume 2 to this thing. So these books go hand in hand together, and part of my game prep now is looking and just scanning where my players could possibly go. I look through each of these maps. It takes me seconds, and then I'm like, ooh, that could be a thing. Page 7. I get a little sticky note, put it in the book, set it next to the game table. We're ready to go just in case. It's a different cool stuff and inspiration you can get from just looking through these maps to think of where they could fit in your world, or vice versa. Think of your world and which one of these mats fits best for you. Again, these are called Loki Battle Mats. There's a link down in the description if you want to check these out for yourself. They have a lot more stuff on there, but that's all I have time to talk for right now. And before I forget, Loki Battle Mats is also wanting to partner up with us for the 50,000 subscriber giveaway. We're getting closer and closer, and we're going to be giving away some of these big, huge books as part of that thing too. But for real, these have been a game changer for me as a dungeon master. I just want to share this with you guys. Now back to the breakdown. Now, as always, a quick spoiler warning for episode 8 of Critical Role. I want to say that, and I do want to apologize. In my last video, there was a spoiler of what I did not view as a spoiler of Travis coming back, and I just want to say this publicly to everybody because there's a couple of comments and I do feel bad. I try so hard to avoid spoilers. I messed up one time about 1.5 years ago in a video I did, and I never wanted to do it again. So I truly do feel bad about it, but for myself, I didn't see it as a spoiler, because as soon as I realized Travis came back, I was like, oh my God, he's back. I texted my friend group and was like, he's back. And they're like, yeah. And it was an exciting thing for them to know that this is the episode he comes back. But when is it? So I never saw that as a spoiler, because I always want to keep all in-game story spoilers at an absolute minimum. Never will be in the title or thumbnail. I know a lot of people use that for clickbait type stuff, but I want to keep that clean. But I do apologize if I rubbed anybody the wrong way and they were really sad that they heard that spoiler from seeing, oh, he's back this episode. Okay, now let's get into it. The first thing here is the integration and interrogation of this new player Chetney into this already established 7-player group. This is a hard thing to do as dungeon masters, or even the player that's being introduced into the group. Now, they are already friends and they already know each other, all that kind of stuff. So that really does help. And myself in the past, I have messed up at how I introduced a player into a group. Here's a quick lesson of what not to do based on a thing that I did in the past and learned from. I had a new player come in around session 10 or 11 of an already running campaign. I was like, how can I introduce them with a bang? This is interesting, my new dungeon master self. I wanted to have them be possessed by an evil spirit that was part of the campaign, tying them into the campaign. That's a good idea. But then they were introduced and led the players into a trap, and it was a 3 versus 1 PvP battle with this player versus the 3 of them, almost knocking one player all the way out, and it was this really tense situation. And then they beat the encounter, and they saved him and everything. The spirit was released and all that kind of stuff. But that started the campaign off with those players with a really bad taste in their mouth. He fought them and they kind of held it against them, and it was this really bad thing, and the player didn't know these other people in real life. So then there was some awkward moments that came from that, because I started off with this negative, hostile tone, you know what I'm saying? So connected back to Critical Role, what happens here, the clip I'm about to show you, is Chetney being introduced into this group. This group is not the most trusting. They have some sketchy things going on around them and what they're involved with, and there's this random old man, very random old man that's introduced into the group and now has to be integrated into the group, but then how do they trust them? And there's this weird meta thing going on where the 8 players at the table know that Travis needs to play with them because they're trying to play the game together, but their characters need to make it make sense too. And they have a cohesive group because Bertrand and Bell tied them together, but it's a little weird now with this little random add-in of this old man. How do they handle it? What's going on? So they go with an interrogation, which is a little hostile, which is why I referenced my story earlier, is be careful about having maybe some things like this going on. Maybe talk to your players beforehand about how this character is going to get integrated into the process, because a hostile interrogation between people that aren't friends in real life probably won't go as good. But these people are best friends and they've played with each other, so they feel safe in something like a hostile interrogation. But even then, there were some funny moments. So here's the first clip.
Oh, did you want to go now?
Yeah, let me just try one more thing, and then I'll turn it
right.
over to you. Listen, we don't got a lot of patience for folk like you. Oh, man. This feels really awkward.
Don't mind my
You should put your blade, like slam it into the table.
Well, it rolls. So, I'll try it. I'm 4 inches taller than you, friend.
Oh, shit.
That's pretty cool.
I'll try to tower over him. All right, now...
Did you have a question?
Ashton!
All right, everybody up.
It was so funny to see Travis interacting with each and every one of those players. Travis is an awesome player. I think he's one of the favorites of the community. He's amazing, hilarious, and funny. I love all the stuff that he does. And to see his character now be paired up with individual little moments throughout this entire episode of all their different characters that have already been established. He's the new guy coming in, and it was really cool to see fresh cut grass, short automaton, who's normally very friendly, interrogating an old man. Do you have a question? They're all rolling with it and having a blast. And this leads me into the next clip here. The second point is, with this new character, there's some beef. There's some drama between 2 of the players. But it's done so well. And I've seen this happen in group tables. I've had people in live streams ask me questions about how to handle this type of thing. Is Chetney hates Dorian. For whatever reason, Travis came to the table, and I feel like he decided this beforehand, is he chose to hate Dorian. I don't think Dorian even did anything. I tried to go back and watch, like, did Dorian trigger him in some way? I don't know. It just seems like he was Blue Boy, and he said Blue Boy right off the start, and then he starts talking with him. But what the biggest point to make here is, I think I love Travis's decision to pick one of the players and hate them coming in, instead of this, like, it makes sense for this crotchety old man, Blue Boy, to not like a player. But it's so well done, and there's a safe space within this group, and I'm sure maybe they talked about it beforehand, but a group this closely knit, maybe they don't. But then again, Robbie is a brand new player. He's the newest addition to this team, so it's cool that they already have that close of a dynamic where he can feel comfortable hating him. So I think this is hilarious, but I would just caution you at your table to not see this and then be like, oh, I'm going to do this at my table. I'm going to hate. Yeah, because the person or player on that receiving end, whether it's a dungeon master being an NPC, hating one of the players, or a player versus player type thing, make sure that you feel comfortable with it. And if you have any questions at all, if this is something that would feel uncomfortable at the table, talk to them beforehand. One of the very rare times I've been a player, it was my first character I ever created. I wanted to do this. I had this vibe like, it is too boring and basic to just all of us are friends. I think a character arc is really awesome. Matt Mercer did this in Exandria Unlimited. He hated Fern's pet monkey. He hated it. And over the course of those 8 episodes, eventually he had this moment where he bonded with this little pet monkey. That was an awesome moment. And it would have never been an awesome moment if you didn't start from the bottom, right? So when I was starting off making my character, I wanted for my character to have some sort of thing, some sort of player that he resented in some way. So during our little session 0, I was talking to one of my friends. I was like, hey, what if my character really doesn't like something about you just rubs me the wrong way? What is it? And we brainstormed together what his character did that my character didn't like. And I wanted to lock that in. But playing that player, he was fine with me. His character was fine with my character. It was only a one-way hatred. And as that person in charge of the hatred, if that makes sense, I wanted to rise above it. And I'm looking for moments, as I'm role-playing this character, I'm looking for moments where, oh my gosh, this guy's not too bad. So I can't wait for the moment when Chetney and Dorian have some sort of bonding experience. So here's a clip of some of their headbutts.
Can we just tell Chetney our names, please? So this is getting so strange. We know all about his love life, but he doesn't know our name.
You should tell him. That's sometimes how it goes, though.
My name is Dorian.
Oh, we're gonna start with you. You go first, huh?
I was the one who was talking. I'm sorry, Chetney. I'm so sorry.
Apology accepted.
Thank you.
Let's start with the ladies, maybe. I don't know. Chivalry dead?
Nope, you are correct, Chetney.
Laudna, what's your story?
You remembered my name.
Well, I've only heard two so far.
Joke's on you.
All right, let's have it.
What? It? Our introductions. I have what?
It was your turn. We can come back. It's okay.
I said I was the first, remember? I said Dorian, and then you said, why are you first?
I tuned it out. Sorry.
I just love it so much. I love that Travis hates Robbie. I love Robbie. I love Travis, and it's so cool to see them have beef with each other. And I can't wait to see what that thing is that resolves it, because this would not be cool if it was just both ways. They both hate each other, and then that's not the way. Nah, that usually never feels good. There were some times in campaign 1 with Travis and Liam had some things about the pranks they pulled on each other, but then there were moments where they loved each other up. So if you do choose to take a low hatred road, try and look for those moments to come out of it. The third clip here would be too long to show, but there's a really cool role play scene of toys. One of the things that Chetney opens up about is that he's a toy maker from the Christmas. Okay. But he makes toys and everything. So one of his payment for them helping him is to make everyone a toy. So there's a really cool role play character development moment of the players at the table get to sit back and be like, what would my character want as a toy? It's a really cool moment to see them be able to do. And this also further meshes Chetney into the group a little bit. And he has bonds with them through making them these toys and these kind gestures that they do for each other and establish a relationship. It was a cool moment that I wanted to highlight, but now we're moving on to a more intense moment, a stealth scene chase with Chetney, Travis's Chetney, and Liam's Orem that are now running through some sort of alleyway trying to follow this individual, some sort of mysterious individual who ends up, we'll see, but they're following after this person. And spoilers, the person they're following after is Dorian's brother. A very key point of this entire episode that they're about to have an hour conversation with. They have to find this person. As far as the story goes, this isn't a big important part that needs to happen. So I'm trying to think from the Dungeon Master's. I'm trying to get in Matt's head, right, until we can bring him on here in an interview. That'd be crazy. But I want to get in his head about, I need, as the Dungeon Master, I have two players that are trying to chase after this mystery NPC who's very important. We need them to find and catch up to this person. So with that being the stage, how does it happen? They got to get through this thing to keep the story going forward. But the dice might not tell that story. How do we make sure it happens? Because what happens is these two players are chasing after him. They have a stealth check to kind of follow after this person. They roll a 20 and a 14. So not bad. But as a Dungeon Master, you might not want to give it away that easily of like, oh, okay, cool. And then, oh, there we go. And that might feel not like forced or like, oh, I was just waiting for and then here it is. You know, you want to make them feel like they have to earn it sometimes. So then they describe this, you know, one of them kind of gets caught and has to take a different way. And the other person sneaks and keeps following him. And then they meet back up into about the same spot after the flavor descriptions of the two rolls. Apparently the 14 failed and the 20 succeeded. So now maybe it's against this NPC's passive perception or some DC that Matt said. And now for part 2 of this many little skill check moments here is another stealth check. So now they have to make another stealth check because Matt's trying to get them to see if they can catch up to this person or unlock this interaction in some way. So they both roll a 10. Okay, so it's not going to work. So then even after 2 10s, which are definitely both fails, they still are able to tail after the contact, which this is a little moment for Dungeon Masters. Maybe failure doesn't mean, oh, they lost them, you know, failing forward. It's okay. You're still going to get it done, but just not yet, or it's going to take some if there's going to be some more complications. Maybe they bump into somebody else. Maybe the contact talks to somebody else. Whatever it is in your games that would be, is it doesn't have to end there. Like, oh, well, there goes a key NPC. They lost them in the... No. This is an important thing that needs to happen. So the flavor of this is they are still... Nothing bad happens, but they didn't catch up to him. So they're still tailing him. And Liam probably feels that this is a close moment of maybe they're going to get away, or like, what do we do here? Our roles aren't helping us. So after that second failure, Liam says this.
Well, he knows we're coming still. Come on, man. Seriously?
Roll a persuasion check.
Oh, shit.
So after a double fail, he's, come on, man, and gets a 4 on persuasion. And what results from that 4 on persuasion is the figure stops and they ask to talk to Dorian. So it feels like a success. Is this bad? Is Matt forcing his hand? No, this is called failing forward. I could do a whole video on this of it's flavoring. These failed rolls are just flavoring the entry talks of this NPC. Like whenever they're interacting with him, they don't catch up to him. They're still tailing him, and then they say something and he interacts with them in the least minimal way possible. Let me talk to Dorian. Like, okay, cool. And the people out there that would say, oh, they should make it, they have to earn the checks. They have to succeed in order to be able to get this interaction. The NPC should have left. I'd say let the story be told. The dice sometimes aren't going to be a yes or a no. It's going to be a flavoring of how the story unfolds, which we'll get back to here in a second when we talk about the cliffhanger that this episode left off on. So now it's Dorian's brother. They get Dorian, they talk to Dorian, etc. And then they have an hour of conversation between pretty much Dorian and his brother, unleashing some backstory, some lore nuggets, all that kind of stuff. But I have some thoughts on this, because is this realistic for our groups? Because in general, I don't think it would be good for my table to have me and one NPC have a 1 hour conversation. Those other 3 players are probably going to get checked out, just as a general rule of thumb for dungeon mastering. Now, this is a key part of the story. Dorian's backstory has been teased for a long time now. Where does he come from? All this kind of stuff. And apparently there's more stuff going on. It actually leads to more quest involvement stuff. Cool. How I've done this in the past is anytime an NPC or a player at the table says they want to talk to somebody for any sort of period of time, I would say, all right, cool, we'll handle it outside of the game session, just to keep everybody else engaged and to keep the story moving and to keep everyone equally engaged. Now for Critical Role, maybe it's not that big of a deal. These players are extremely invested. They're all in. This is what they do impartially for a living. It's okay for them, and they're going to be super invested in this story. And I've talked about this before in these breakdowns, but this is the Critical Role player effect, where the players are super engaged and they're going to be able to do these types of things that normal players wouldn't, and I wouldn't expect normal players to. So just like the Matt Mercer effect puts Dungeon Masters in comparison to Matt Mercer and how awesome he is, I think we have to sometimes think about the Critical Role player effect of their player level versus what a normal player would be, because we shouldn't expect players to be okay sitting there for an hour as I talk to one player. So how long is too long to talk to one specific player? Maybe it is okay if it does have to do with the big story plot that's going on. The other characters are invested. Maybe the other characters are physically there to have chime in extra little thoughts and stuff. The most recent time I can think of doing this, when I had a big long dialogue between me and one of the players, I had multiple different little bullet points written down on an index card to chime in the other players. And if I felt the player was starting to disengage, I'd look down at my thing. I had a little bullet point written next to their name, and me as that NPC would ask them a question that pertained to what was going on. But that's just something to kind of think about, keeping everybody at the table engaged. For the next clip here, I got one quick point I want to make, because I absolutely love the creativity here and the flavoring of spells. Sam, playing Fresh Cut Grass, I always laugh every time I say that. He would cast the light cantrip. And in general, when you're a spellcaster, it's cool to flavor how your spells look and everything. It really makes your character stand out. I would highly recommend doing it. But I don't think Sam thought about how his light cantrip works as Fresh Cut Grass. So he says some funny stuff. But the key part I want you to look at is Marisha sitting right next to him. She chimes in what it would look like and helps him brainstorm, and helps as a player and player helping each other come up with some cool flavor for a spell. Here we go.
I will
cast light.
Okay.
And I will activate my light mechanisms that I have inside. Yes, my eyes glow like two shiny torches flashing.
Oh, let's see.
Like
Lights
two
up the
magic
Like
ones.
yeah. Oh.
Looking inside here, the
There it is. That's it. That's so cool. It was a super subtle moment, and these are some of my favorite moments to bring up in these little DC breakdowns. It's just a simple thing. Marisha's sitting there and like, oh, it'd be cool, like dome lights, like a truck, like a car lights up. That'd be cool. And then you can see it kind of trickle around the table, and it just, when fresh cut grass casts light, that's what it looks like. It's really cool. So players think about maybe beforehand what each of your spells look like, and other players and maybe even dungeon masters ask for that. Matt's done it before. What does it look like whenever you cast that spell? And then yes, other players be ready to kind of help each other come up with cool ways to make your character even cooler. Okay, I'm excited about this one. We got some theory stuff going on, guys. I got two theories that I'm packaging into one here, and they're both pretty spicy. One of them comes from the comment section of multiple different people talking about, I love seeing all the different theories and stuff before. Last episode, campaign 1 and 2, I didn't have this little thing that we're doing here and this little DC breakdown stuff we're doing to see and get a bunch of these ideas, and I feel I love it. I love it. So keep letting me know what you think. But one of the theories is, what if Chetney isn't Travis's true character? What if Chetney is actually leading them to this person that Chetney needs to find? What if they are leading them to Travis's true new character? And I'm just going to go ahead and say that's a super, if that happens, I will be mind blown. That'll be awesome. Okay, cool. But I do love Chetney, and I was smiling so many times. The whole first part of this episode, I was just saw myself like, just seeing like Travis interact with these people. Oh. You know, like, it's so funny to see him play a crotchety old man. So I love it. I'm all in with Chetney, and they've done some copyright stuff, copyrighting the name and everything. So I'm pretty sure they're all in on this Chetney thing. So that might not be a thing. So I'm going to act like that was a really cool idea. But then again, that starts the thing, like I said last time, these expectations and what if. And then if it doesn't happen, now you're sad and you set yourself up for that sadness. So I'm going to be all in with Chetney and see what's going on, which leads me to my second theory. What if Chetney's a werewolf? Oh, strength-based rogue. How is he so strong? Maybe he's for being old. Maybe it's explained through some sort of lycanthropy. That would be a super cool twist onto Chetney's already cool character. And if it's not Chetney, maybe it's Gerd, whoever they're trying to go find. Maybe they have something to do with lycanthropy. And I absolutely love lycanthropy so much. I have an entire lycanthropy system. I made a video about it. It'll be linked down in the description. It pairs up with an entire PDF of my lycanthropy system of how I do it, because it's a big part of my campaign, and I absolutely love it, and I don't think it's fleshed out enough in the rules as written. So anyway, back to this, here's this clip where they find some claw marks on around here. There's some clues and some weird stuff that they can't make sense of. So on top of this cool theory, I also want to have a Dungeon Master tip of how to give these type of clues. Matt does something very key here, which I'll get into in a second. I'll let you see the clip of what they're investigating, but listen to what Matt says and how vague he makes it.
That would have been a hobby horse.
Are the claw marks that you're referencing, are they the same width from Shade Creepers?
No, they look a bit too large to be a shade creeper, or at least the shade creepers that you've met.
Or at least the shade creepers that you've met. Okay. This is so well done. I try my best to do exactly this whenever there's a question and they're starting to hit on something interesting, right? I have left a clue for them of lycanthropy with werewolves. Let's just assume right now. Let's just assume that it's lycanthropy. Okay, is lycanthropy. These were werewolf claws. Oh, and does these claws look like shade creeper claws? Okay, I as a dungeon master, that is not true, but I don't want to shoot it all the way down, but I want to cast some doubt along, and then maybe it could be though. So it's no, but maybe, right? So these claw marks are a little too wide from the shade creepers that you know so far, that you've seen so far. Now there could be bigger shade creepers. Oh, that's interesting. That could totally be a thing. So it could be shade creepers, but they're bigger, or it could be something else. So then when it's realized that it's lycanthropy, calling it right now, We'll see. I'll reference this moment right now whenever I'm right or wrong. But moments like this help you protect your secrets and then have those big reveals be even bigger because they were flirted with before. They had seen claw marks and they'd seen these things, but you had this little veil of maybe it's a shade creeper when really other clues are going to be sprinkled along the way. Now we're tying it all together for the big cliffhanger ending. Fern transforms into a little rat. Tiny little rat, and there she's going to investigate into some sort of things that are going on between the wardens or like scouting mission. Classic druid scouting mission, shapeshifting into a rat. There is one weird little clunky moment here where their rat is going to go up the stairs and that asks for an acrobatics check. I just want you to look at the vibe of the table, look at what Ashley, the player of Fern, look at what she says in response, and then we'll break it down.
But you continue following down. It goes up a slight stairway, which, as a rat, I'm going to have to ask you to make an acrobatics check for me.
Rats can go upstairs.
Well,
Yeah, you can. Show us.
yeah. What kind of ups is this rat got?
Come on. Do I do it again? Also advantage?
You do not have advantage in this, no.
13.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, 13. Yeah, 13's okay.
Okay.
It wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't a terrible difficulty, so you just had to not roll low. So,
Okay. I wanted y'all to see that whole little extra bit at the end there too, where myself, I feel like this is an unnecessary roll. What would happen if she rolled a natural 1? Is she not going to be able to climb upstairs as a rat? I guess this is also referencing the failing forward thing that we talked about. I'd be careful to ask for rolls that could fail like this. It's a rat climbing upstairs. Is this a key moment as a dungeon and this? I'm only able to say this because I've seen the entire episode and I don't think this moment is maybe worth a roll. I don't know. These are the type I'd love to see y'all's comments on this type of stuff, but I would not have asked for this role necessarily. Now, I'm not saying that's the best decision and this was I'm not saying any of that because yes, sometimes the role should flavor how things go. And maybe if she rolled really low, then she has to come up with something else of how to climb the stairs. But it's just, is the stairs the challenge here? Or is what she's going to go do and then what ends up happening, we'll talk about in a second, is that going to be the big thing? Because I don't know what would have happened if she rolled like a 4 or something bad. Would the same thing type happen with it happened in the alley earlier where the figure stops and they still get to interact with the person, even with a 4 being a success? Because in that case, just describe the rat climbing up the stairs like you do to keep going to the bigger parts. But overall, I like to play both sides of the fence because I think Dungeon Masters should ask for checks where they want to either flavor something or see if something happens or not. And ultimately, cannot wait to be able to stream my games so I can Dungeon Master myself out there and maybe somebody could do a breakdown of me Dungeon Mastering. It'd be really cool to break down my own thoughts about, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have made that check and really truly reflect on everything afterwards, because I really do try and break these down like sports film breakdowns. If Matt were to go back, would he still have made this check after the session's over? Because I guarantee you there's plenty of times where we're playing and I'll ask for a check that I would have handled it this way, or I do something in combat or make a certain ruling and I should have done it this way. I just love breaking these types of things down. So now, leading to the final climax of this entire episode, Fern gets to the top of those deadly staircase and then starts to snoop in and listen in on what's going on. Gets a lot of information. And then the guards start to leave and Matt asks her for a dexterity saving throw. Now, before I show you this clip, the thing I want to break down so it's at least on your mind when you're watching this is, where did the dice tell the story and how asking for checks for the consequence of failing a roll, all the kind of themes we've been talking about here, how does it play in? Because you'll see what happens with the check, and then there's going to be something after that, and then there's going to be something after that. Here we go.
No. They both turn and begin walking towards the door. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Let's go.
Come on, Fern.
Let's go, Mighty Mouse.
What if you get smooshed?
Ratatouille.
She doesn't poof. She.
Oh,
No. 8.
Oh, no.
8.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You... Okay, here's what I'll do.
Let's go.
Roll a d6 for me. On a 1 to 3,
Oh no.
the weight does just enough to get a hit point of damage to you. On a 4 to 6, you manage to shrug it off and not take any damage.
Do you have 1
Time
hit
out.
point?
Okay, real quick. This is me asking myself, if I'm breaking things down, she failed the save. If she fails the save, in general, I would say, then she gets the damage, or she gets hit, or gets stepped on, or the thing happens, right? But it's very interesting. I don't see Matt do this a lot, or Dungeon Masters out there. This is a thing to put in your tool belt, because I've done this before as well. So this is me saying, like, I totally see where Matt's coming from in this, because oh, this is bad. And dexterity saving throw, fail, you get stepped on, pop, and it's bad. Like, that maybe feels a little bit too punishing. And when, as a dungeon master, are you super strict? And when are you super lax and much more lenient? This is what we talked about last episode too, about checks. Whenever you're deciding, oh, you can make whatever type of check you want to be able to help them out and give them more advantages. Even giving advantage as a dungeon master, you can do that yourself too. Give them disadvantage, whatever. Play with how hard or how punishing you want things to be. Like right now, she fails a dexterity save and then leads into this interesting D6 moment where 1 through 3 and a 4 through 6. So it's a 50-50 shot. So in general, I normally would have that be a D20 roll. Like, I need you to roll a D20 for. I do this a lot. Like, okay, roll a D20. If low, this happens. If good, this is going to happen. I do that a lot. I call it a fate roll, destiny roll, whatever. I do that with D20s. Matt does it with the D6 here. I don't know why he chose a D6 for it, for the 50-50. Could have choose really any dice for it. But anyway, here's what happens.
2.
How many hit points do you have as a rat?
Intervening again.
It's gotta be a 1d4
One.
situation.
It's a 1d4.
Okay, roll.
Roll-
So you can't have less than a 1?
Roll a 1d4.
Oh my god, what if you get...
Get a 4, get a 4, get a 4.
Trying. Matt's trying so hard.
I think she goes,
You go double check. Let me double check.
But he's going to look it up to be a solid DM.
It's a 2.
Yes!
You have 1 hit point.
Wait.
So much drama.
A rat, a tiny beast.
Wait,
has
did you say roll a d4 or yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Okay, sorry.
So it says under rat, right?
Yeah.
What's it say for hit points?
It says 1, and then in parentheses it says 1d4 minus 1.
Okay.
like, what
Oh no, so you minus 1, so 1.
My cat was max 4.
Yeah. So, as you're listening in, both guards about face me and walking towards you, and you scramble away right as you feel the pressure of one of their heavy armored boots step down upon you. As it does, suddenly your vision reverts to eye level.
Ooh, what a roller coaster, right? There's multiple layers there that Matt was trying to have this not happen. I don't know. Maybe there's times where as a dungeon master, I'm like, this would be really bad. This would be really bad if it happens. And I have added extra layers on there of, and there is a too much here. And I don't know, it's up to you if this was a too much moment. But there's times when I've even watched, I could totally do a whole breakdown on this one episode I have in mind of Dimension 20, something that happens. But is whenever there's a failure, the dice have said fail. The roll happened, fail. Okay. Ooh, a second layer. And Matt introduced a second layer of this 50-50 thing, right? So she could have failed the dex save, but then rolled higher on the D6 or the 4, 5, 6, and then been okay. Okay, so that's like a 2-point system. You just got to succeed on one of them, right? But she fails on both of those. Oh, wow. At that moment, for me, it's a fail. You're getting stepped on. I don't care what the book says the rat hit points are. I don't care what you go, we're going to roll. We're going to, for myself, it's that rats has 1 hit point. You got stepped on. Boop. You know, you're done, right? Here we go. The dice are telling a story and twice have said failure. I tried giving you the 50-50, but here we go, right? And then Matt has a moment here, let's keep going with the example, is how much hit points does a rat have? He's looking for different things. Let me look up the rat here. So he's still trying to, at the same time, give the player some freedom, wiggle room, and be a solid dungeon master. Let me look up the rules. You know what I'm saying? So he's playing the middle ground right here really well. And then, it's a hit points. I get a roll for the hit points. So he's an even nicer dungeon master and adds a third layer there of what's the rat's hit points, right? Now, how much damage does a boot stepping on? Anyway, she rolls the dice and it's a 2. Oh, and then they find out it's a -1, brings it back to 1. Pop goes the weasel, and there we go, right? Now, I wonder if it would have been a gooder. I feel like maybe they'd be excited about it, but then I feel like it does take away a little bit. If she were to have rolled a 3 and she has, 3 minus 1 is 2, and I only took 1 damage from the boot. I'm okay. Would that feel good? Would that feel earned? You know what I'm saying? Myself, no, it feels like I'm given too many chances, at that point. But I'm glad she only had 1 hit point. She gets popped, and now look at this awesome cliffhanger that we get to leave off on, right? So as dungeon masters, pick that level of how strict you want to be on it and how punishing you want to be on it. There's times where I've been like, oh man, this is real bad. Okay, and like maybe somebody falls. A great example is if somebody like falls off a cliff. Oh my gosh, they failed the save. Give them another chance. Okay, cool. As you fall, like you failed the save and you're starting to fall, I need you to make another dexterity save to try and catch. Or if I know they're a strength-based character, I was like, your hands are dragging down the walls. Give me a strength save. Oh, they're gonna be high. They're gonna be able to make a strength save better because they have a higher modifier for strength, and they can maybe have a chance. Let's say they fail there again though. Oh no, everybody else at the table. What are you guys gonna do? You have one little moment. See all these different layers, right? So introduce as many layers to the failure as you want, but be careful not to add too many to where it feels like they're invulnerable and they just have plot armor or whatever. And no matter what happens, they're going to be okay. So I can't wait to see what happens at the next one. There's going to be a little bit of time here until the next one. So enjoy the break. I hope you guys can get maybe even caught up on these videos and caught up on the campaign so we can all do this here together, because these are really fun for me to do. I appreciate all the love that you guys have shown these videos. I really, really do appreciate it. And I can't wait to get some more Chetney and his whole shenanigans that he has going on in the group, and him and Dorian. Will he ever like Dorian? What happens with him and Dorian? I don't know. So until next time, stay creative. Think outside the box. Peace.